Held their face to nation, Congress, and Linda McMann. On off the Connecticut Judicial Branch offices and the state corrections offices and the campuses. They have roles with predicate acts with facts methods, and they are singularly connected too by the breaching method, singular. They had slavery entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies non distinctly, for example, even though distinctly at the same time. And even though that was against everyone commonly, at the same time, everyone had self value roles, forcing, tricking, hurting, persuading other things, others themselves, to be blamed rather than blaming what was non distinctly hurting everyone. As a scientific value, for example, to discern it, one of the things that it was true always as was a breaching method, a human fact, human nature breaching method had been sustained at more colonies than 13, northern colonies and southern colonies before America's founders were born, with slavery entrenched. They had to leave it entrenched because they had to hide their roles with the counter to it. All exceptions, exception nature, come back to hide their actual motivations and will cause them. That's why they fight about things like the T tax, leaving out how slavery was entrenched. No one had the free speech; they had to pretend other too, to an extent. Otherwise, that body was sensed and it was adapted to, including if it was a majority of people, including if it was everyone. That was the effect of everyone sickly distinctly, but also sickly non-distinctly tortured, extorted, in fact, human nature enslaved, therefore physically. Our founders declassified this. The campuses have had roles replacing what our founders declassified about why and how they did not have free speech. And they have uses of their words, pretending not to realize and really not realizing. And relativity is not a theory. We have black pupils, whites of eyes, and birds have two eyes. Fish have two eyes. There is relativity being shown to us. There is also hyperrelativity being shown to us because we are distinct from other species' bodies, and we are also simultaneously non-distinct from them, and we are simultaneous with them, but also per that which is not us nor them, while it is all things anyway. And part of how it is showing us that is how we have these quality aspects, how there are completely different species bodies that are also made up of a whole bunch of individual bodies of the species body. All group differences are being generated by that which is not our species body. It's not their species body, but is all things anyway. People could debate that, but their debate of it will have inherent to, active to, and progressive to demonstrations of the same thing. Their logic and nature of logic. That's why, and Nate, that's why this would have been brought up had we had one honest voice for the names of the people the sciences. Increasingly, a Leahy family and others with Hartford Hospital have been touching me to fake conversations with my family members and with strangers and with the news and the interbranch at the same time. They have personally and professionally judges and prosecutors sticking fake things in databases at the same time with federal agencies in foreign countries and overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and not legitimately, even if they are legitimately with unmarked police forms guised as criminal enterprises and hate groups too. Right on Facebook. Facebook has roles with New Britain Superior Court with the FBI Director Robert Luskin before and after the World Trade Center attack, before they were Facebook. They have roles with wire crime methods, digital crime methods that involve stacking predicate acts with facts at databases and or collusions with at crime scenes, all sides of the kids' houses. They're hiding live progressions. So the police forms and the Connecticut Board of Education has roles with Ruth and other family members and natures of other mayors too, involved with the World Trade Center attack. Weathersfield police attached me to fake conversations with them at the police station. I didn't even go down there as a kid. And the kids who did go down there and speak with them, they used that to make it look like I communicated with Chris Walters. I only found out, he was in a car with me. They put me in a car with him with a Ray Colo who's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed a whole bunch of ways. Sometimes it's the people that influence him as the investigators, different police departments, police forms, and courts involved with them. Sometimes they influence them to federal evidence crimes. Sometimes it's their family, other things that influence them to hide and make things up. But these are names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, interstates, where all sides of the cases and the lawyers, their sources, same thing with the courts, their family members, their neighbors, and the news at the same time, putting the same sequence shifts, refusing writing so they could stick more fake in databases and not get that brought up. They're fishing intercities now to hide line progressions. On a mass scale, they have all kinds of predicate acts with facts. The names of the people, the sciences, A through Z. At countries A through Z, you guys have communicated other founders. So you guys are pretending things are debatable that are not. And the differences between parent or family member or community member, they're using wire crime maxim methods, just replacing and faking what's actually recorded at the campus's phones when they are caught with things on off campuses like untimely death rolls with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, with grammar school kids and middle school kids involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with other countries and overt criminal enterprises at the same time against people they don't even know, not even the same class. They try all exceptions, they make fake exceptions. Constantly, people are making fake exceptions for other people appreciating that at locations that are already being and haven't been used remotely. All sides of criminal and civil cases and the courts putting the same sequence shifts. Nature's demonstrations of that. They're showing that they need to use all that comes before them to hide that. But no, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, rote readings of statutes and precedents. They give the benefit of the last doubt, for example, to people at the court that based on their job and stuff like that. So instead, they just pretend not to hear things and change the fake what's recorded digitally, wire. The same ones with the Russians, Ukraine, have Hartford Hospital involved with intercities campuses and with fire departments, with Inspector Mike refusing to identify himself legitimately. Fire departments have roles with people from Russia and Ukraine. Also with people forging fake conversations with me, like these ones with the Leahy family, and tied to them at Hartford Hospital. They have their kids involved with organized crimes with them, with judges and prosecutors personally and professionally with them. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrong. You guys had obligations by nature not to leave out how we have black pupils, whites of eyes, and how a breaching method reassigned that. You guys had obligations by our founders not to leave out what they declassified about why and how they did not have free speech, especially why and how nature itself is demonstrating that. There's a witch trials place next to Webb House with no the before it, but now it's renamed the Webb Stevens Museum. Then and now it still has further and further other communicated for it than our founders communicated to have communicated about their use of James Madison's plan and the counter extortion of George Washington, who agreed to help them and to use that plan and to counter extort the rest of the founders. But no one had free speech, and no one is allowing anyone to be honest about the extortion of George Washington, even though we were directed to, and that be honest about that, and would have brought up James Madison's plan and the founders behind him, plural, that directed us specifically to refer to themselves, plural, as him, singular. And that plan is what caused the American Revolution and the Declaration of Independence and the Civil War. Even in other words, even though that was after James Madison, the Monroe Doctrine too. It was just a continuation of James Madison's plan to counter extort and force them to break the torture, extortion, slavery laws to an extent, and then to have to hide that. In other words, the rest of the colonists and the rest of the Native Americans too. But there are proofs that there are Native Americans who were part of that plural group that asked us to refer to themselves as James Madison, singular, and his plan. See, they knew that people would replace that plan right through our schools. So there are organized crimes, plural, and there are methods of them recorded at our schools. But Weathersfield Police, for example, they attached me to fake conversations with them too at the police station when I was a kid and now as an adult. There are two Mendez police involved with next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut, and next to and Bob Dawson with WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and others about the World Trade Center attack. There are increasingly collusions with people in the intelligence next to them, who are also next to the state capitol, involved with child abusers cliques years apart. First child abusers first forest. They have war crime action methods with retired police chiefs from Weathersfield and their intimate ties involved with the 80 Carriageville Drive, associated with a Paul, a Phil Colo. I don't know where he lives. Bob Chase is one of the ones also with a Joshua Julian involved with them, and Whiting Forensics, and with Facebook involved with them. The Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature involved with other sexual and medical offenders of kids and hate groups, some black KKK, Confederate flag theme, Latino theme, Italian theme, Korean theme, Russian theme, Ukraine theme, all tied, all predicate acts with facts, federal evidence, crimes with names from my street as names from other areas through time, who've been planting intercities, predicate acts with facts rules with their roles with the interbranch in the same house slash S, and they brought it up. They're also sequence shifting on a mass scale with such things. They're lying about because there were a whole bunch of other countries at the same time and roles with the World Trade Center attack that were coordinated with their extended family members. But we need to get to the principal child abusers' confessions and confirmations to make. Some murderers' roles and untimely deaths roles were brought up at the same time. And people involved with overt criminal enterprises with houses next to, not far from the even though their roles with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants and their family members and their neighbors, like a John DeMoro. He further has recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed more sexual and medical offenders of kids, involved with my fifth grade teacher, involved with some body dumping spots and other natures of federal criminals and organized crime roles, with people in from my fourth grade class and people in my third grade. But they weren't in a class with me. I don't even know them. They're just sticking fake things in databases and trying to make fake exceptions. They're exploiting all they set things up to try to counter certain things that keep them. They try to adjust. And in other words, a bunch of people, including how they let the roof go with High Crest School, is increasingly involved with more people involved with identity theft, frauds, and slanders at and next to each of the campuses I went. And they'll tell you this. And these are increasingly people with the Russians and Ukraine will tell you too. But you have to ask them properly. And you have to get me off the fake conversations with the news and the interbranch at the same time. You need to get them onto paper, please. In other words, they have obligations too. They have more than. There are two O'Connor per principals, a mother and daughter of the campuses, and their neighbors are involved all along Route 175 and their conjunctions from the old Weathersfield locations are also ties to people with the O'Connor on that street with home break-ins and rules with people fight with each other and they film illusions, fake ties, fake natures of ties, and involvements with them. Like Mark Carone and Kevin Carone, increasingly people from my campuses and tied to them. I never saw them in a Weathersfield campus in my life. I only saw them one time at Central Connecticut State University, and I left that class because I didn't want to tell anyone. I'm not going to keep it simple. I barely ever communicated with them, and the people tied to them make confessions. Like there are also people, the same ones on Central Connecticut State University, UConn, Quinnipiac, Trinity College, and next to it with foreign and domestic military, involved also with the Afghan leaders and kids, right through administrations and Weathersfield town offices, and where the Weathersfield police station is now and where it used to be in Weathersfield, Connecticut. There are increasingly collusions at all sides of Central Connecticut State University, all along from the founding locations, all along Route 175 through Weathersfield into Newington and Central Connecticut State University. Joe Dennis is one of the ones involved with sequence. I never saw him on a campus in my life. He's one of the ones involved with his family members with the spots next to Central Connecticut State University in the Brick, Connecticut, and where he grew up near a former Mayor Gold, and his family members increasingly involved with other mayors with sexual and medical offenders of kids cliques, identity theft frauds cliques, sequence ships, fake ties and fake natures of ties to people with people tied to themselves, and fake motivations because they're screening the breaching method. It's roles with motivations, like when people speak for black or white, leaving out the breaching method. It keeps that outcome. It keeps their roles with their motivations for keeping other things others or self blame for how the breaching method reassigned what nature communicates with black people's rights of eyes, and how our founders too communicated for us to understand how a breaching method had reassigned what nature communicates with black people's rights of eyes. So all kinds of going back and forth with questions and the answers they're being used to screen for the breaching method relative to how you guys have had principles, you know, abridged with and like from this is principle having black people's rights of eyes. We have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time. We have relativity here being demonstrated to us. But so, in other words, the Department of Education has roles with criminal enterprises, plural, and private ones, involved with people with the name Demaro, involved with a whole bunch of different countries, and their roles all along Route 3 and conjunctions to it and conjunctions to that, and their roles with town lines. Increasingly, John DeMar, I only know him as a stranger seeking me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. He has collusions with my fifth grade teacher and people before and after that. And my sixth grade teacher lived the street over from me. Increasingly involved with people with Central Connecticut State University in the Britain, Connecticut. Involved with people planting evidence on all sides of my house. And as one's involved, with identity theft frauds, all these rackets, things that appear to be debatable, you keep hearing them like repeating things about sexual and pretend they have legitimate doctors. They have all kinds of delusions with psychiatry, all kinds of organized crime acts and methods at the medical campuses and fire campuses, families running in to hide life progressions there with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, all the different positions there like at Harvard Hospital, founded on the campus of Harvard Hospital in 1822 with slavery still entrenched northern colonies, southern colonies. They attached me a fake conversation. I don't even know what he looks like. Never saw him in my life. Never spoke with a Dr. Gilmore tied to a Christina Sioka since before she was a doctor. There are people involved with Miami and Orlando, Florida, and interstates, Washington, D.C., the World Trade Center, New York City, involve intercities, intercampuses in Connecticut, and with names next to them. She has roles with people named Mendez, also involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, multiple police departments, and their roles next to Fox Connecticut News, and next to WFSB, and next to WTNH is the FBI. They're sources of WTNH too, on off campuses next to them, planting predicate acts. An O'Neill family put fake ties, fake natures of ties to me, and brought their kids involved with them with predicate acts, with whiting forensics, wire crime acts and methods, federal evidence crimes acts and methods, predicate acts, and rules with sexual and medical offenders of kids, and their rules with West Hartford campuses, and their kids with Wethersfield campuses, and the news and the interbranch at the same time with their kids' collusions, again with other layers of things and terrorists. They put me to fake conversations about the World Trade Center attack after the attack, too. The WFSB, as other natures of organized crimes, as the substance of what they faked in the fake conversations with me. And with me, with them, other people too, they pretend to do that too. And then other people who also like me who were in the court next to the World Trade Center attack, they attached them to change communications about that. And they changed the communications of courts themselves and about legal cases, like an NLRB case, a National Labor Relations Board case, with various natures of federal criminals, involved also with people that have been changing and faking things with them, inclusions with them since before that was proven. and then hiding it as ones at Harvard Hospital. A bunch of people at Harvard Hospital involved with people on my street with predicate acts with them from other areas that planted evidences, like the Robert Rodriguez who brought up the name Scalora and the child abusers campus to me. I recorded them using wire crime acts and methods, like having people call back a bunch of times, make a whole bunch of more statements, confessions, and things untrue, and never let the person speak, and then pretend we communicated and put fake and changed with digital and phone transcripts. As one's involved with the Weathersfield Police Station, putting fake transcripts and communications between people and their officers, and when they were kids, and then as adults too, as one's collusions with since they were kids, and with their educators, with identity theft, fraud, slanders against people that don't even know, and they try to so there's no way for people to respond properly. The interbranch switch names and sequences because they arose with the identity theft, fraud, slander method that the hyperforeign kept and keeps. That's why how they bring up black and or white, leaving out the breaching method. Our founders would flip out. They would flip out.